Alright, I wanted to talk to you about error, and this is experimental error. And we're going to use the idea that error basically is anything that makes your experiment data inaccurate or off. And one thing about it is that it's always there. Now, it can be broken down into two major categories. One being systematic, and systematic come from the way the experiment was done, how it was performed, and how something was done, introduced bias into the results. And there are other broad categories, random errors. And random errors are basically things that the experimenter really doesn't have control over and can't really gotten rid of. With either category, the experimenter can reduce them. Now I want to talk a little bit more about each type. Systematic can be broken up into four categories: environmental, instrumental, observational, and theoretical. And for example, an environmental error could be something where on a given day, if you're studying gases and you don't incorporate, you don't think a lot about the temperature of the room, and that makes things behave in a weird way that could give you bad results in the end. Or you don't account for air pressure, and that affects how quickly something will melt or burn or something like that. And an instrumental error is when you haven't necessarily calibrated your machine, or you haven't made it so that it's reading correctly every time. Is going to be something that's going to be in all of your measurements. Now, with an observational error here, there's this idea of parallax, where if you look at something at various angles, that could affect how you view the measurement or view the object. And in terms of theoretical, that's more where you've oversimplified the model, or you haven't really you've neglected friction. You're saying it's a frictionless surface, or no heat will escape when some heat does escape. Now, in terms of random errors, there are two categories there. There are observational, and that's when you see it one way a little bit differently than I would see it because of the gradations on a ruler, and you see it between the two lines a little bit closer to one, and I see it a little bit closer to the other. And an environmental error that's random is like the power surges or those vibrations that you really can't necessarily recreate within your experiment, but they're present. So that is my discussion about the types of error.